now, and we're live for another episode of The Corner, and we got Pipsky on the line, and a couple of folks, Jamesky and Theo, in the audience who might reach in at any time. I was thinking that today's or tonight's topic would be the EU versus the United States of America. And since you, Pipsky, the guest of the hour and regular, are an American, what would you say are the advantages about the United States? What's great about the United States?
Opportunity. Someone's always creating something and trying to invite you in.
Right? And what's the downsides?
I would say the downside, it's a very young nation, and thus the education system follows suit and the populace follows suit. So
Right.
the population is largely
I
relying on less than logical conclusions.
I agree with you. I mean, the United States is a nation that has been built upon bloodshed. Ever since Christopher Columbus.
I mean, I would argue that every nation is built on bloodshed, though.
Yeah, but the difference is that other nations has evolved. What remarkable? What makes the United States so remarkable is that Columbus first discovers the United States at around 1514-ish. I don't know, around there, right? And after that, it's okay, we're just going to put colonies down there, and and then it begins the systematically eradication of the Indian race in order to gain their resources, their land, and the shipping possibilities of the resources from that said land. It's just fucked up. And then you get to the 1800s, at this point where it's Canada also, right? And it is just I don't know, I have no words for this, because I feel there's missing some books, and there is missing some movies out there from what happens after these 13 original states of the United States. Because there was some negotiations, and there was a lot of eternal, or not eternal, but ongoing wars between territories and states. And then it was also the systematically placed soldiers and military presences along the Canadian-US border from the US sides, and aggression from the US side that we're going to be here, we're going to draw the line here, which is what's called the 49th parallel. You know what that is? I think you know what that is.
What is?
The 49th parallel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's where the United States draw the border. This is where we're going to be, and we're not moving, right? And that's why the line is so direct and so straight from Washington to... I don't have the map in front of me, but I would like to say Michigan, because this.
I mean, they tried to invade Canada, but Canada wasn't having it.
No, Canada wasn't having it. So there was military presence from both sides. But there was a lot of internal skirmishes between the Michigan border and the Canadian. That's why you see the line starting to become there, pretty skirmished. Pretty disturbed, because of this internal dispute between where is the border going to go, and this was mainly because of the fur trade between the United States and Canada being moved through. But yeah, like a fucking country built on blood, and like that's it, and a fairly young country as that, and also like that the United States picked up slavery years later. It was abolished in the rest of the world. That's also fucked up. And then the last notion that is fucked up is that the United States is the last country in the world not to have any form of universal healthcare where you have to pay to be treated. What is that?
Yep, it's fucking crazy that the U.S. doesn't have universal health care. Blows my mind.
Yeah, but why doesn't it? Why is it? Why is it the common folks' perspective in the United States that like, yeah, that's just how it is. You gotta pay to be treated. If you get cancer, you gotta pay to be treated. If you're like life and death sick in any amount, you gotta pay to be treated. What the fuck is that?
There's a lot more healthy people than there are sick people, obviously. And then you have the people that have the time and energy and money to voice their opinions about universal healthcare and have, more importantly, have the influence on the system. Can make the big pushes to keep it the way it is because they can pay out of pocket. They can throw $1,000 down the drain to pay for whatever it is, with or without any kind of insurance. It doesn't matter; they can pay for it. Whereas the average everyday citizen can't afford that, but they don't have the time or the energy or to research it, find out more information, find out how to fix it, or just find out a better way to be. So it's like you have these guys that'll tell you, well, anyone can walk into the ER for anything at any point, in the United States, they can't turn you away. It's like, yeah, they'll see you, but they're not going to treat you. Like, unless you're dying, they are not going to treat you unless you can pay. They will ask you how you're going to pay before they treat you.
Like, holy shit. Holy shit. That's just cutthroat and bone right cold.
It is. It's crazy. There are people that their whole lives, they do all the right things. They get great grades in school. They go to a great college. They get a great job and they save up and they have a house and a nice family. And then somebody in their family gets cancer and they lose it all. They lose everything because the insurance companies just mark everything up and you have to pay, this out of pocket and that out of pocket and all this stuff that you just have to pay, even though you have insurance, even though you have like the best insurance, it doesn't matter. And it's just the whole system is fucked. And these libertarians, Republicans saying, well, you can just start a GoFundMe, ask people to help. That's not how it should work.
Also, I would feel like, if I had to start a GoFundMe campaign for being sick, I would feel like that would be like a fucking punch to the stomach,
Yeah, for real. Like kicking someone while they're already down.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I don't get that part. But what I do get, with the United States, is at least the opportunities that you can register any kind of business without having to put down any kind of paperwork, unless you earn more than 50K a year on your business. I think that's a really good incentive to get people starting, to get people creative.
Yeah, the U.S. has really great business. If you want to start a business in the U.S., it's great support.
I mean, you don't need anything. You literally don't need anything. You can just say that I'm opening Pipski's coffee shop from a fucking van selling coffee.
You can't do all that because there are other, particularly around food in the United States.
Yeah,
there are rules and regulations around that. So you could sell let's say candles. That's a big one, easy one you can start at home.
But that's this is very state based, right? Like, of course, like if you're like talking like New York City or the state of New York, selling like food from a food cart or a food truck, then sure, it would be more than like probably like 5 or 10,000 people in front of you in that line. Plus, you would have to pay like a fee of like $3,000 a year, if not more, to
Yeah, and
obtain
you have to
that
get
license.
inspected. You have
Yeah,
to have
sure,
the licenses and
but
stuff. Yeah.
but like this is for a city like or state like New York or New Jersey. But if you're talking like the less populated states in the United States, then I refuse to believe that it is this paper thread mill of stuff to go through in order for you to obtain the license. In other words, there
There
are,
is, there
yeah,
is, there
yeah,
is.
right. But there are places it would be simpler, than New York City, for instance, for
Oh,
you
for
to
sure,
get
there are
that to
places
get
that
the
would be
license.
simpler, but that's simply because they're pretty much almost across the board, the food wise, which is why America has, the food it has, is they have certain standards across the board that everyone in the United States has to hit these standards, and everyone inspects the same sort of way, unless like you know the guy, or you know what I'm saying. And you're more likely to know the guy if you're in Boondocks Nowhere than, let's say, if you're in New York City.
Of course, of course. So like if you're in like boondock nowhere, sure, you would be asking somebody like, you got a problem with that? Like I'm opening up a food truck, bringing some business into this small town. Then the answer will like most likely be like, no, I got no problem. Like you just go ahead, right?
Right,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, like the bigger city you get, then the bigger the problem. But like that's what I'm saying, that like if you really want to like make a business from a food truck or a coffee truck in the United States, you can find somewhere where that won't be a problem. It's only a problem if you choose to be somewhere big like Chicago, New York City, Los Angeles, um, and like I'm sorry for my geographical skills, but like like whatever else big cities there are in the United States, Philadelphia.
I think that's also the problem of, a blue ocean versus a red ocean kind of situation. If you have more competition, it's going to be harder for you to even get into the running.
Of course, because it's already a market being established, and you will not like cut in on that market. Um, but like for
Yeah, if you
instance,
have like no one's really has a food truck in Oklahoma, and you say you want to do a food truck, and everyone's like, yeah, we would love a food truck. You can get a lot more people behind you to do it. Whereas in New York City, it's like, we got food trucks. What are you trying to do? Take business away from this guy that I love?
right? Like one thing I loved about about New York City when I was there is that sure you have like all these like fucking hot dog trucks and beverage trucks that like selling merchandise, but I didn't like that they didn't list their prices, because they like estimate, like what kind of guy are you? Are you wearing a suit? Are you a tourist? Okay, then it's like fucking $8 for a hot dog, right? Um, but I liked the fact that there was homeless people carting around beverages on ice, and like with a sign saying like $1 for a Coke. That was fucking epic. So like I would like rather buy from like the homeless dude than from a food truck. But like I don't know if that was legal, but still I thought that was right. That felt like fucking right. Um, I don't know where I was like going with this, but like I was like just hoping like it would be like this anywhere in the United States. Would somebody bother you in your hometown of the US if you were like carting around a cart with full of ice cubes and soda pops, with a sign saying like $1 a pop?
And I think it depends on the area. Like, let's say, like Hurley, New York is super rural, like area, mostly just houses, schools, churches, a couple country stores, and a lot of America is like that. If you were very often actually like garage sales, for example, you can open up a garage sale and sell your junk in the United States without having to worry about taxes and stuff. And at garage sales, they do sell like lemonade or Coke or whatever. and that's perfectly fine. No one cares. They could potentially come and hit you with some kind of, violation or something, but they don't. They don't care that much.
No, I know, right? Because it's not like you're like having $100,000 business there.
Right.
You're selling a couple of like soda pops, and that's it. And why shouldn't you be allowed to sell a couple of soda pops and earn a couple of bucks? Okay, I feel like I don't know, like maybe I'm like stepping out of line here, but I feel like that's a goddamn human right,
I agree.
to try
There are
and
certain things
yeah.
for sure. Like there's one thing that's really big that blew my mind. I found out about is, with the regulation of food in the United States, if you want to start a farm, it's like a whole thing. There was this one girl that was she just wanted to have chickens and sell the eggs. But there's a whole thing she has to go through just to be able to sell the eggs. So she has like all these fucking eggs she cannot legally sell.
Wow.
Yeah, and like you have police officers knocking on her door and shit talking about she can't be selling her eggs to the local populace in boondocks nowhere. It's like, the fuck, they're eggs, bro.
Fucking
They're
hell.
prepackaged.
Yeah. Well, I like fucking eggs too. That's just, I don't know, like that's just fucking nuts. But yeah, that is the United States. Well, like let's get over to the EU. You've been living in the European Union for like a little while, and what's your impression about the European Union?
I think it's funny, the hot takes that Europeans have about America. I mean, I think that's just everywhere, the hot takes that, like, you see these, like, quote unquote American restaurants, with like pizza, cheeseburgers, cheese in the United States, but it was not something I ate growing up. But apparently that's American, just everything fried and everything fatty, with the Star Spangled Banner slapped across it.
Well, I'm sorry, but like, doesn't fast food originate from the United States of America?
I think, I mean, I don't know what the facts are. I think it was like McDonald's that really like stepped up that game first. And I think that's why McDonald's is so big, because they were one of the first people to take that to the next level and make it fast food.
Sure thing, but like I don't know, like when is McDonald's from?
McDonald's has like a really interesting background, actually. There was like, I can't remember the exact, I want to say it was somewhere in California. There were these two brothers that had this place called McDonald's that had this wonderful restaurant, great food, you can make it quickly. And then this other guy, this, salesman came along, saw what they were doing and tried to convince them to expand, and they didn't want to expand. So he sort of used legal loopholes to create McDonald's.
Nah, like
So the original brother,
well, he bought it from McDonald's. From
don't actually own McDonald's. It
no,
was some other guy that kind of like stole
right.
it from him. He
No,
didn't buy it.
he bought it for $1 million from them. I'm like pretty fucking
Maybe
sure.
there was some kind of lawsuit later,
I'm
but I know there was some kind of legal loophole.
I'm pretty fucking sure that he bought it for $1 million. He bought the brand for $1 million by the brothers. And then they later sued him about it when it became so successful. But yeah, I am like pretty sure that's what happened. And sure, like then McDonald's today don't have anything to do with the McDonald's brothers. All right, listen. The McDonald's brothers' 1961 deal to sell the rights to their growing business to Ray Kroc wasn't without its hiccup. Kroc wanted to own the entire McDonald's chain and borrowed cash from several different sources to meet the brothers' $2.7 million asking price in 1961. But he fucking met it, and he fucking bought it. And then later, the McDonald's brothers had like a stick up their ass about this, since they saw like how successful like this brand and chain became, that they were suing him, but they lost on every occasion after that because Ray Kroc was, like in every right to do what he did. But like where I was going with this is that it took like 10 to 20 years after this before fast food starts to become an established business in Western Europe. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
it's really interesting. I mean, when we talk about fast food, we usually think, McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell, that kind of stuff. But really, I kind of think that Japan was doing it. I mean, they had ramen forever. That was fast food, realistically. You can get a bowl of ramen in 5 minutes. Boom.
yeah, like I don't know, like a bowl of ramen is way healthier than a McDonald's menu, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know. I just think it's interesting that when people think about fast food, they think of, the unhealthy choices and not the healthy
Sure thing. Sure thing. And you have, like, for
choices.
instance,
Like there's one pasta place here. They can make, ravioli or spaghetti or whatever kind of pasta plate you want in 5 minutes, But it's not, people don't think of that as fast food.
sure thing. Plus, you have always had like Chinese restaurants around, and that's also like fast food, the deep fried stuff, fortune cookies, rice, etc. But that's how it is. I would like anyways like back to the question. I would say that like one of the downsides to the European Union is all the paperwork that you need to require, for instance, to start a business, the taxes that you need to pay, and how you're like all covering for each other. Like like this shit of that Greece has been like down in the pit, and the rest of the European Union needs to cover that hole. I'm not completely down with that because like this is about countries that has already dug the hole for themselves. Greece specifically, because they set the retirement age at 42, plus that the majority of the economy is cash based, means that like a lot of like the cash that should be going to taxes is just going to somebody's pockets. I don't know, like your take on that.
I think that's something that Hungary faces too. I want to touch back on that, the cash-based economy. Hungary is very cash-based as well. I noticed, like a lot of places, they just don't, and I would say it's because of their banking system. I don't know how it works in the rest of the European Union, but I know in the United States, I'm not charged for having a bank account. Like I have a bank account, I keep my money there in the savings and checking or whatever, IRA, and they don't charge me for keeping the bank account. But in Hungary, having a bank account, they charge you every month unless you spend a certain amount, which is crazy to me. So there's a lot more cash-based economy in Hungary because people
Wow.
don't want to deal with banks.
How
And they
much?
could regulate that, but they
How much are they
don't.
charging for you to keep your bank account?
It's not much, but it's like it's enough that people say, well, I'm not going to keep my money in my savings account with you if you're going to charge me, $5 or $10 a month simply because I'm not spending money. I'd rather,
Wow.
put it under my mattress, and not lose money.
Of course, of course. I didn't know that was a thing in Hungary. I haven't experienced the same kind of like fees in Denmark and Norway. Like there are fees for like having your bank card, like the credit card in Norway.
Yeah,
Like
if you
on
pull money out or,
not
transfer or whatever.
like
Yeah.
no, like in Norway, like it's a own fee for just you having the card, and that
Huh.
fee and that fee is like like it's like really low. Like it's like $30, $30 to $40 a year for you to have the card.
That's weird.
Yeah. But then in exchange, there's like no fees for you for withdrawing cash. There's no
Oh,
fees for
I think that's worth that.
yeah. There's no fees for you
I'd
like
rather pay
withdrawing
for having the
cash.
card than pay every single fucking time I pull money out.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's that. You know, like there's no money for withdrawing cash. There's no money for using the card at the restaurant. There's only the yearly fee of renting. I guess you would say that renting the bank card. And then of course, you know, like fees if you are transferring money from international bank accounts. Like for instance, if I'm transferring money from a Danish account to the Norwegian account, then I'm paying like $5 fee from every country, like $5 fee to the Danish bank and a $5 fee to the Norwegian bank.
I mean, that's fine for me.
Yeah, that's
I usually calculate that in, but it's just simply having the bank account, you're going to charge me money. That makes no sense.
no, I agree. Like that makes no sense. That it's recently been implanted in Denmark or implemented in Denmark that you have to pay like a fee of 0.5% or something for having a bank account with less than 15,000 US in. But you know, like fuck it, it's like small money in the end, but still, why implement it? Why punish somebody for having the ability to save up money?
Right, yeah. Another thing too that I've experienced, which is interesting, is in the US they use routing numbers. They don't use, I don't know what they call them in Europe, like the SWIFT number or something like that. Like the number for the bank, right?
Can you repeat that?
In the US they use routing numbers, which is the number that represents the bank, right? Whereas in Europe they use, like, I think it's called the SWIFT number. IBAN, the IBAN. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so the IBAN in Europe represents the bank, right? So in order to transfer from like an American bank to a European bank, you have to have a bank that has the capacity to transfer to an IBAN number or vice versa. You have to have a large bank like Chase Bank, JP Morgan, you know?
Oh
You
man,
can't use like smaller, hometown banks don't have that ability.
why not?
I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah, I think it's fucking weird because like if you look
Weird,
at,
man. It seems like something you would want to immediately implement if you want, money.
of course, I mean like in like all the small banks over here in Scandinavia, they have a SWIFT and they have an IBAN number for you to transfer money to, no matter what.
Yeah, but it's like what is it? OTP. They can't transfer to a routing number in the United States. And even like the National Hungarian Bank here, you have to like harass them in order to get the routing number so you can transfer to a US bank. It's crazy to me. This is the secret number.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about Hungary, yo.
I don't know why they do that. It seems really weird to me.
Well, I don't know. Like Hungary is like probably like a bit behind. Also, Hungary used to be like a communist country. Um, I don't know who is in charge of the country now, or if it is somebody that
It's
has
Viktor Orban.
And who was he before? How long
What
has
do you
he?
mean?
How long has he been in power?
I say Viktor Orban, but he's more like a figurehead. Like really, I couldn't name all the names, but it's like, I don't know how to compare this to you because you're not American, but if you know anything about the United States, like obviously there's the Senate and the House, right? It's two different groups of human beings, and the House is elected by local people. Like let's say the county of Ulster County in upstate New York, sort of boondocks nowhere, they elect one representative to represent them, and then within that area they also have a senator. So they have these, certain number of people that I can't remember based on the population of each area. So if I compare that, and then the U.S. citizens also elect the president. But it doesn't work like that in Hungary. What happens in Hungary is they elect their senator and their House representatives, and then those individuals elect the president, which is Viktor Orban. So you would have to elect people that wouldn't elect Viktor Orban to be the figurehead that cuts ropes and shit. But realistically, Viktor Orban isn't really making the laws. It's the proverbial Senate, which is the parliament or whatever.
But still, Viktor Orban has been in charge and been the prime minister of Hungary for the last 14 years.
Yeah. But he just mostly just goes on talk shows and cuts ribbons and shit.
Well,
he's not like, people say he's a dictator or whatever, but it's like, I mean,
no, like sure, like
yes,
I understand them. You hold the fucking power from a country from 1998 till now. Then why the fuck wouldn't you say that you're a dictator? Okay, like he's been the prime minister. He's been the prime minister since 2010. No, wait, since 2010 to now, and then before that he was the prime minister from 98 to 2002. So he's been the prime minister of Hungary for 4 years, and for a 4-year term and an 11-year term. So he's been the fucking prime minister of your country for 15 goddamn years.
I mean, yeah, but a dictator would imply he has total control over the country, and he doesn't at all. He's just a figurehead. And I can't, like, people, the Western media and people get so hot and bothered about Viktor Orban. And I want to compare Viktor Orban to, I don't know, fucking Oprah, okay?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay?
I get it. Get it.
He's just the face, He can speak English, he can speak Hungarian, he can speak Romanian, he can speak German, and he's really good at talking. Imagine if Obama wasn't in charge of the military. That's Viktor Orban.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get it. All right, guys, we're going to round it off here.
You want to yell about,
Yeah. I get it. Like, you only yell off here, but no, I get it. Anyways, all right, guys, I'm gonna round it off here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and also check out Pipski's channels in the link below. And have a nice the rest of the Sunday or Saturday or whatever it is, wherever you are in the world. And don't forget to sub. Peace out, yo.
Subscribe.